Alright, my friends, settle in because I've got an epic history lesson for you. And no, this isn't some dry textbook nonsense. This is the story of Benin, a West African kingdom that was so powerful, so advanced, and so mind-blowingly artistic that even the Europeans who showed up centuries later were stunned. This is a story of kings who ruled like gods, warriors who fought like legends, and art so incredible that the world is still trying to get its hands on it today. Let's dive in. The rise of the Benin Empire, where kings were more than just rulers. Way before there was the modern-day country of Benin, there was the Benin Empire, one of the greatest African civilizations ever. It was founded by the Edo people around the 11th century. And by the 15th century, it had become one of the most dominant forces in West Africa. At the top of the empire were the Obos, the kings of Benin, who weren't just rulers, they were treated like gods on earth. And trust me, these dudes didn't play around. Oba, the great mid-1400s, was a king who took Benin from a small kingdom to a full-blown empire. He built massive walls, organized the army into a powerhouse, and expanded Benin's territory like a boss. The city of Benin City, yes, that's its actual name, became a major center of power, with huge palaces, a massive trading network, and streets so well planned that European explorers were straight up shocked at how advanced it was. The kingdom wasn't just about war, it was a center of culture, religion, and craftsmanship. But if there's one thing that Benin is still famous for, it's the Benin bronzes. The Benin bronzes, art that stunned the world. Let me put it this way. Imagine living in the 1400s, when most of the world was still figuring things out, and you have an African kingdom producing some of the most detailed, lifelike, and mind-blowingly beautiful bronze and brass sculptures ever made. That was Benin. These weren't just random statues, they were royal plaques, busts, and detailed artwork that told the story of Benin's rulers, warriors, and traditions. The technique they used was so advanced that when Europeans finally saw them, they refused to believe Africans had made them. They were that good. Today, these bronzes are scattered across museums in Europe, and we'll get to why in a second. But let's talk about trade first, because Benin was raking in wealth. Benin's trade game, a kingdom that knew its worth. By the 15th century, the Portuguese had made their way to West Africa, and when they arrived in Benin, they were blown away by how advanced the kingdom was. Instead of being conquered, Benin controlled the terms of trade. They traded ivory, palm oil, textiles, and pepper, and in return, they got European goods and firearms. The Obus made sure to keep their kingdom strong and independent, limiting what Europeans could take from them. Unlike some other African states, Benin didn't dive into the slave trade right away. They resisted for years, but eventually got involved as European demand skyrocketed. But here's where things take a turn. The British invasion, the fall of a mighty empire. For hundreds of years, Benin held its own. But in the late 1800s, the British came knocking in this time. They weren't looking to trade. By the 1890s, Britain wanted total control over Benin's trade routes. When Benin's leaders refused, the British launched the punitive expedition of 1897, a brutal attack that destroyed Benin City. They burned the city to the ground, looted the palaces, and stole thousands of Benin's priceless bronzes. The Oba was exiled, and just like that, one of Africa's greatest kingdoms was wiped off the map. The British took the Benin bronzes and scattered them across European museums, where they still sit today, though in recent years, many are finally being returned to Benin. Benin's comeback from colonization to independence. After the fall of the empire, Benin became part of British Nigeria, then later a colony under French control. But the spirit of Benin was far from gone. By 1960, modern Benin finally gained independence from France. Today, the country celebrates its rich history, especially its connection to the ancient Benin Empire. One of the coolest things about modern Benin is that it's the birthplace of voodoo. Voodoo, the spiritual heart of Benin. Forget what you've seen in Hollywood. Movies. Voodoo isn't just about dolls and spells. It's a deep, spiritual religion that connects people to their ancestors and the world around them. Ouidah, the city in Benin, is considered the heart of voodoo and hosts massive festivals that attract people from all over the world. Voodoo is recognized as an official religion in Benin, and many of its traditions trace back to the ancient Benin Empire. Benin today, a nation of pride, culture, and legacy. Benin may no longer be an empire, but its history and influence are alive and well. The country is fighting to get its stolen bronzes back, and some European museums have finally started returning them. It remains a center for art, music, and culture, carrying on the legacy of the great Benin Empire. Tourists from around the world visit Benin to explore its historic sites, ancient palaces, and rich traditions. So what's the legacy of Benin? It's a story of power, resistance, art, and resilience. Benin was one of the greatest kingdoms in African history, a place where kings ruled like gods, warriors fought like legends, and artists created masterpieces that still amaze the world today. Even after being invaded, looted, and colonized, Benin's history refuses to be forgotten. It's a symbol of African greatness, creativity, and unbreakable spirit. And that, my friends, is why Benin is one of the coolest places in history.